I think I note the time, Chair, and I'm also conscious that Mr. Corbett, I believe, has returned from the technologically dead, so to speak. So if I may ask, if I may leave it there with Mr. Gillis and thank him very much for the evidence he's given to date. But Chair, with your permission, may I revive Mr. Corbett and ask whether or not he has any final words he would like to say, and if you have any questions for him.
I'm glad to be resurrected.
Thank you very much. And I'm so sorry that there were obviously technological difficulties which led to you falling off the call before the end of the opportunity to have your evidence, and we're very glad to be able to get you back now. The questions that I asked the other witnesses whilst you were offline, so to speak, were about recommendations. And we talked about an independent safeguarding body. We spoke about the need for mandatory reporting, and we spoke about the need for a criminal offence of failing to, in effect, pass on allegations of child sexual abuse or concealing such. Do you have any other recommendations, or is there anything you would like to say about those recommendations to the chair and panel?
Yes, could I just clarify what I was in the middle of saying when I was
yes,
cut off? It was about the aspect of shunning, and what I was trying to clarify was that in the example of PRA 39, which I happen to know well, this person left the organisation as a result of being abused as a child. When she finally took her abuser to court because it wasn't dealt with by the congregation, her father refused to support her at the court case and said, "Why do you not leave it alone? Why do you have to bring this up?" Because he felt it was bringing the congregation into disrepute. He now has hardly anything to do with her unless it's a case of something he needs, which no member of the congregation is able to supply for him, and then she's last resort. So is she shunned because she reported child abuse? Well, not strictly. Did she leave Jehovah's Witnesses because of child abuse? Yes, she did. Is she shunned because she left Jehovah's Witnesses? Yes, she is. So there's a direct link, although you could argue the semantics of being shunned because of reporting child abuse. And this sort of case is not uncommon, where somebody chooses to leave because they can't live with the organisation that did this to them, and then as a result of leaving and perhaps being outspoken about what happened to them particularly, then they get shunned. And in this case, the person is not disfellowshipped or disassociated, but is still shunned by members of her family as a result of having left. On to recommendations. Yes, mandatory reporting for the reasons we talked about, because it takes the decision making out of the hands of amateurs and puts it in the hands of professionals who can deal with it. It does exactly what CCJW suggests that they wish to do, which is to separate the crime and the sin. Let the religion handle the sin, let the police handle the crime. Seems very sensible. With regard to publishing of figures and auditing of those figures, I think advice that CCJW themselves published is very good. There's an Awake article which is referenced in one of their elders training letters. Strangely, it's missing from the list of references that they sent to the inquiry because it deals directly with child abuse. I'll just read you one paragraph, if I may. This is from the Awake of the 8th of April 99. It says, "Think of the heartbreak of parents who have discovered too late that their children have been abused by trusted clergymen, teachers, or even close family members. It would be good for you as a parent to ask yourself, does my church tolerate or cover up child abuse? Is my religion holding firmly to high moral principles? Answers to such questions could help you to make wise choices in protecting your children." I think those are exactly the questions parents should be asking themselves. The problem is, without external reporting, how do I know whether my church is tolerating child abuse? If there are no figures available to me as a member of the church, how do I know? If there are figures, but they're not audited externally, how can I tell the difference between a church that is not tolerating child abuse and one that is just very good at covering it up? Without external auditing, there is no way of telling the difference. So I would say this advice, which comes from CCJW themselves, is excellent. If parents want to do this, then they should have at their fingertips the information they need to be able to assess the risk posed by a particular church to their children. And that would require all churches, including CCJW, to publish publicly the statistics, how many cases are reported, how many of those are against people in positions, how many of those were reported to the police, what was the outcome of the cases. All of this should be available to anybody who is a prospective member of that church.